but they remain at home downtown tonight, 7:10 first pitch at the corner of,
Come on.
the corner downtown. Progressive Field, the corner of Progressive and Field with your Cleveland Guardians and the Minnesota Twins. Tonight, 7:10 is your first pitch. First of 5 against the Twins. A lot of messages, Stanley Cup fans, by the way, on the talkback button there.
Hey guys, Nick calling in from Boulder, Colorado, calling to say, let's go Lanches!
Bye! Love you, bye! Listen, there's not much you can do with the Avalanches, you know? Go Avs go is the hashtag I saw. It's got to be either Lanches or Avs. Not a whole lot you can do there. But go Lanches. Congratulations. Poundcake, your thoughts. Kevin Love got married, finally, to his girlfriend of 6 years. He married a model.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the surest sign that he's preparing to leave Cleveland.
Yeah, I saw the news.
Kate Bach. They've been together for 6 years. They got married at the New York City Public Library. Why they wouldn't get married here in Cleveland, Ohio, I don't. Must have been doing a drag queen story time. Kevin Love and Kate Bach, who they refer to as a Sports Illustrated model. But she's an athlete in her own right, correct? Isn't she like a volleyball player or something? Or
I don't know.
Oh.
Who knows?
I thought you might, since you are pretty. You keep your ear to the ground on Kevin Love.
Not on her.
He said, New York is so much a part of our story. It felt so right to bring all of our favorite people together into such an iconic New York City institution. 6 years. What's the rush? You know, my wife gives me a hard time because I waited a little over 5 years to propose to her. And then conversely, you've got people, I think my sister and her boyfriend are probably going to get hitched, and they've been together under a year.
Oh, boy.
And, and then you've got Kevin Love and Kate Bach. Been together for 6 years. I thought they were already married. That's how little I keep an ear to the ground on Kevin Love. He's got a lot of gray, though. He's rocking a lot of gray in that hair.
Yeah, he's got quite the silver fox, I believe they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So if
just me and him, silver foxes.
Exactly the same.
What are the chances of him?
He's a little taller.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
What's
he
that?
makes a little more money.
What are the chances of him just retiring rather than being traded?
He's not going to get well,
I don't know.
He's not going to retire. He's still productive. He had a great bounce back season. I don't think they want to trade him. I think he's going to stick with the Cavs this year. I think this is the last year in his deal, or it might be one more. So it depends on. I think he wants to stay with the Cavs.
He'll go play with Kyrie and LeBron in Los Angeles.
We'll see.
Hell.
I don't think
all
he's
right.
going anywhere. I think he's going to stick with the Cavs.
You think so?
Yeah.
Just close it out here?
Because he's also got a huge contract that nobody wants to pay.
Nobody wants to pick that up, yeah.
Not for his sixth man. But he had a great season last year. So
Whatever.
Well, good for him. They've been
Happy
engaged
for him.
since January of last year. Yeah, listen to this guy. Poor Poundcake. You know, I mean, he had a shot. And then
When?
Kevin Love... Just go with me. And then Kevin Love had to go and meet Kate Bach at some photo shoot. It must be great to be a professional athlete because sooner or later, you're going to meet a model. Uh-huh. You're just crossing paths with...
Sooner.
Right. You're going to go... Yeah, you're going to meet a model immediately.
It's not a matter of a model. It's like, which model do you want?
Yeah.
Like, and I really do want to know the process in which they choose because they're all hot. So it's probably the one that has
Well,
like
they're not all hot. I mean, there's different kinds of hot, but there's also a very specific
you're weeding out which
segment of modeling that is decidedly not hot in the most conventional sense.
Sure, but what I'm saying is when you're in the league of models, it's not they're all attractive in their own way. It's a matter of who has the least amount of baggage. Like who can travel with me, who's not a thought, who can I trust, who will be a good mother, who is financially set on their own. There's a lot of things that come into play, I would imagine. I don't know for a fact, but
I think a lot of it's money and you're traveling. And I mean, Justin Verlander got Kate Upton. He looks like his head is constantly set on overinflate. So, you know, I mean, they've been married for a while. Huh?
So did her boobs, so it works out.
They've been married for a few years. He makes a lot of money.
I don't even know who he is, Justin.
Well, he used to. She's from Michigan. I know her uncle. Her uncle was a former senator in Michigan, and but Verlander used to play for the Tigers, which I think is how they probably initially hooked up. But then, of course, he's with the Astros, and so they moved to Houston. But you know, and again,
Kind of attractive.
well, she looks at him and goes, "Okay, so he looks like he might explode, but like he's a nice guy." He looks at her and he goes, "You got giant cans, but really, really tiny teeth." And I'll look past that. It's all compromise in any relationship.
What's her name? Beckinsale?
Kate Upton.
Upton.
Yeah. She's lovely, but I mean, she has very tiny teeth.
He looks like he has.
She has baby teeth and kind of a little girl's face, and, you know.
He looks like he has very angry sex all the time for no reason.
That's your take on what he
For no
looks
reason.
like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think he looks like? He looks like he has angry sex for no reason. There's
Teeth
always a
aren't that small.
Oh, there's always a reason to have angry sex.
Okay. Well,
Don't you think?
no.
Oh.
I'm just
No, what do I know?
I had a real good day today. Like, come here.
I had a real good day today.
Maybe that's why you're single. That's how he gets to sex. Her, come here.
That's when I see his face. That's how I imagine he just woos her over. Come here. You had a good day at work.
He's not Blackbeard. Pirate. Come here.
Sign my document.
I'm gonna lay you down.
By the way, whoever called it, Johnny Depp, supposedly in talks with Disney to play Captain Jack Sparrow again.
Oh, I guess I didn't see this coming.
A source, I mean, take that for what it's worth. This is something that I guarantee Johnny Depp's team floated. But that Disney, who, by the way, are the guy that runs Disney now, Bob Chapek or whatever his name is, this guy is going over every expenditure with a fine-tooth comb. This guy, Bob Iger, the guy that ran Disney for a long, long time, was considered much more talent-friendly. He had a lot of charisma. He could walk into a room and kind of, you know...
Chop it up.
Yeah, he could figure out where people were coming from, and he was much more likely to look at something from kind of an art. He would try to balance the bean counting, the art and the commerce, whereas this Bob Chapek guy was his number two for a long, long time. But the rap on him is that this guy just sees spreadsheets and what's this going to cost and blah, blah, blah. So it seems unlikely that they'd be talking to Johnny Depp about a $300 million deal, which is what this story says.
Well, the movie may
Maybe they're not, but the
Spin
Browns
three.
might sign him to $300 million.
There you go.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just throw money around for dumb reasons.
You don't have any publicized issues or anything, do you? Okay, good. We've done our diligence. Did a thorough investigation. Yeah. A source, which again, I guarantee is from Johnny Depp's camp. The guy's pushing 60. Because when this whole thing like blew up, Disney was like, nah, I think we're good. So I can't see them paying him $300 million to play. I mean, what did he get for the other ones? He was making a ton of money with those other ones.
But I don't
He's
think...
making a lot of money.
No, he was probably 20. I mean, like back in the day,
Yeah, probably 20, 30 mil a picture.
No,
Which is
that was
unheard
probably
of
the
anymore.
First one,
Right.
But then the second and third, I'm sure.
well,
they
not the
were
first
more
because
than
they didn't
that.
know what those were going to do. They wait until the second or third to really sign these guys up. But the days of people making $20 million a movie are over.
Depends on the movie. Like, I mean, you have an ensemble cast like the Avengers. Pretty much everyone that's a main cast member was making $20 to $30 million off those films. And Robert Downey Jr., I think, made like 60 or something because he took a lot of
But that was
back-end
points.
stuff.
Everybody on those movies had points.
No, they were, I mean, points, but that's how you make money if you know it's going to be a hit.
Right.
So this says.
Because, I mean, back in the day, like a Angelina Jolie movie that nobody was going to go see, she'd get paid $20 million.
So the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie made $654 million. The second one made $1.06 billion. And it says that for the first film, he got paid $10 million. On the second film, he got $60 million up front with a $40 million on the back end.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
he made $100 million off the second movie, which is
That's pretty good.
that's insane.
I would sign up for that.
That's insane.
They paid Chris Hemsworth $150,000 for the first Thor movie.
Big mistake.
Think about that.
Yeah, he did not. It didn't pan out for him. It's a bummer.
And then he made like $15 million for those other movies.
Yeah, he's made quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's worked out.
Oh, good for him. Anyway, Kevin loves married.
Does anybody want to win $1,000?
Yeah, I'm going to give you $1,000 right now. It's the last keyword of the day. Final chance today to go fuel yourself. Listen closely and good luck.
The Buzzard wants you to go fuel yourself and score $1,000. Enter the nationwide keyword GRAND at WMMS.com. That's GRAND. Enter it now at WMMS.com. And good luck from Buzzard Radio.
You can always leave voicemails for us anytime, day or night. The Alan Cox After Hours line is 216-986-8903.
Hey guys, Albert, still in land of enchantment out here. It sucks, FYI. Poundcake says that recliners are a black thing, and I'm confused because I could have swore that was basically every middle-aged dad thing, middle-aged man thing. I mean, isn't that the greatest thing to do on a Sunday is just sit in your recliner and have a beer? So I'm confused of why he thinks that's a black thing only. And once again, Alan, sorry about your dad. I too lost my dad in 2020. He didn't die or anything. He just voted for Trump a second time. So that sucks. All right, love you guys. Bye.
Oh yeah, that does suck.
Well, who's doing the raping?
Oh boy. Yeah, that was a weird take. Poundcake, we were talking last week. We were talking about. You said that recliners are a black thing.
I don't think I said they're only a black thing. I said they're essential to every black household. I don't think I said it's only a black thing. I don't remember the context in which I said it, but I stand by my whatever I said. I'm sure I meant it.
I don't know what I said, but I stand by it. There's a man of conviction.
confidence.
There he is.
That is
Yeah.
confidence right there.
I'm sure I
I don't know what I said,
Whatever I
but
said,
there's
it's
no
true.
way I'm
Yeah.
going to give it a second thought.
I don't know what it was, but I meant it.
Yeah. Because I think we were talking about black funerals.
I think I did, yeah.
We were talking about funerals and how I had been to a number of black funerals, and I had never seen. You said there were nurses walking around.
Yeah,
for
there
when
are
people
nurses.
faint. Yeah, and all I was saying was I had just never seen.
They have
that.
the little Red Cross nurses hats on, and they walk around.
They were paid by the hour.
Well, he's going to funerals in the 1940s,
Right.
apparently. Yeah.
No, that's not.
Got some Pan Am
Paper
stewardesses
dress.
walking around too. Yeah.
I have never been to I've been to one white funeral, and that was my grandmother's, and the only other funerals I've been to were black. So my white grandmother, she had a Catholic funeral. It was the quietest, most uncomfortable funeral I've ever been to. I'm used to people rolling all over the floor, crying, people chasing after a casket almost falling and breaking open. Police got to be called because family members fighting, people owing people money. I'm used to all that stuff. I'm used to chaos at a homegoing celebration. So
Why is there never? Because you said some people are invited and some people aren't. So why is there always trouble?
because they're
Emotions are high.
Because everyone's on edge because they usually lose a family member suddenly, so that's a thing. Money is probably a factor, and then when they don't invite someone and somehow word gets out, that person shows up anyways. So they're pissed because they weren't invited, and then pissed because no one told them they weren't invited, and now they want to know the issue why they're not invited, and then they're like, "Hey, it's not the right time to have a funeral." They're like, "But no, you didn't invite me to the funeral, so now I'm about to ask. I'm about to ruin your funeral."
You know, when I went to that funeral, when I was trying to do some detective work on whether or not Rick had died, and I went to that funeral, I was there for a while. And there was nothing like what you're describing. It was more like my dad's wake. Mm-hmm. It was in a funeral home.
But we don't have ours at funeral homes. Like they're usually.
Well, this
in
was a
church.
black family that had it the wake at the funeral.
So are you
home.
sure this was the wake and not the funeral?
No, I'm saying this was the wake.
Okay, well, I'm not talking about a wake. I'm talking about a funeral.
You're talking about people are fighting in a church?
Yeah, or outside. Yeah, there's been like a scuffle, and they're like, take it outside, take it outside, take it outside. And then there's some ushers or whoever push them out
So
the
that
door.
doesn't happen at the wake, just at the funeral.
I don't know. I've only gone, from what I can remember, I've only gone to my grandmother on my mom's side wake, and I was a
I
kid.
saw a lot of people blazing in the parking lot at the wake, but I didn't see anybody mixing it up inside.
I think because black families are so like spread out, I think you only get one. You either go to the funeral or you go to the wake. And I don't know anyone unless they don't have a wake. A wake may cost more. I'm not sure. My family doesn't do wakes. I've never been to a wake.
To back you up, although my family is not black, my mom said that if my stepmom were at the funeral, she would raise hell to the point where we would have to call the police. So, like, if my stepmom would have shown up,
that ended up not happening. I thought she did show up.
No. For the actual putting my dad in the ground, like the funeral was.
But they were both at the memorial.
They were both at the memorial,
Yeah.
which was fine. More people, you can kind of stay away from each other. But my
Okay.
mom was fully ready to fist fight my stepmom if she came to the gravesite that day.
And so your stepmom was like, "I'll hang back just so there's no."
Right. I went and met my stepmom and my stepbrother and their family earlier in the day.
Okay.
And they got to say their goodbyes a few hours before we actually put them in the ground.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is behavior that I'm very familiar with. That if that were to happen, or I wouldn't be surprised if someone fist fought at a funeral.
Because my grandmother, my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother, married twice. Because my grandfather died when I was 7. And my grandma remarried when I was a senior in high school. And she thought that because he was considerably younger than she was, that he'd outlive her. He did not. He got mesothelioma from working in the newspaper business or something and, sucking in all these chemicals for 40 years.
Bro, you might be entitled to compensation.
Yeah, that's what I told her. And so she outlived 2 husbands. But his kids came to my dad's wake and funeral. Was so nice. They came all the way. They live in Dayton, or they live in somewhere out here or whatever. We hadn't seen them in so long. And they're essentially my mom's like step siblings, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
And we hadn't seen them in so long. So I guess the opposite of fisticuffs.
Yeah.
That it was very
Everyone
nice to
got
see some.
along, yeah.
Well, it's just very nice to see some people that I hadn't seen, unfortunately, under those circumstances. But
There are like,
and I do like Poundcake getting into these conversations because then I'm awash in messages from black listeners who are cursing him out,
Like, that's not
saying
how
he
it
doesn't know what
is.
he's
Well,
talking
that's
about.
not their.
Yeah.
Okay, well then,
Who
good.
gets invited to a funeral, that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm glad that their family is more functional than mine because mine's dysfunctional and not
Well,
everyone
this is what
gets
I mean.
invited.
This is what I'm saying is that I always feel like you're taking something anecdotal to your family and saying
applying it to
this
all
is
black
everyone.
But you're asking
Right.
about a black. I've only been to black funerals in my family.
And there's a
I've
fight at every one you've been to.
I didn't say there's a fight at everyone, but there's something that goes down to everyone. Someone owes somebody some money. Someone was not invited and didn't tell.
I guess I didn't realize there were funeral invitations that got sent out.
Someone's being blamed for the death of someone. You didn't take so-and-so.
blamed for the death of someone.
RSVP.
Y'all was out there doing worldly stuff. He should have been at church, and you ain't want to take him to church, so you cursed him to hell because of this.
Oh,
so,
I love it.
Yep, you going off. Like,
Wow.
you was out
So
there.
they're deciding where they end up? Like, they're making the presumption?
I'm telling you what I've heard. They're like, oh, you slinging that stuff?
But this is also proof
walk in here-
that it's not a black thing, because Mary just said her mom was ready to fight the stepmom.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not a black thing. I'm
It's
just
a
saying.
trashy thing. That's across all races.
That's what I'm saying. Crosses all boundaries. We can all hold hands.
Said don't come in here if you got dope money in your pockets. You'll burst into flames. Like all
Yeah.
that type of stuff. Like
I
real
guess my
church
family,
superstitious stuff.
My family was the funeral equivalent of horseradish pickles.
Yeah, probably. Tell me about your counter depth fridge, please. I need a break.
If you ain't contribute to the funeral, you don't get no food.
Wow.
And that's how it be.
What is a counter depth fridge?
Blends in with the wall. It's the same. It's
They're
the
not
same
all like
depth.
that?
It's the same depth as your counters in your cabinets. No, apparently not. This was the last cookout that I learned
I mean,
about
my
counter
fridge
depth
comes
fridges.
to the edge of my counter.
Then you got a counter depth fridge. Ours sticks out by about a half an inch, and it's all my boyfriend wants to talk about.
A
Is that we
counter
don't have a
depth, because I
counter
hear
depth
that all the
fridge.
time.
Push it back
Counter
a little
depth
bit.
fridge.
That's what I said. I was like, this is not a big deal. I would have never known it. And then when I brought it up at his last family gathering, his dad and his brother jumped on board immediately and were like, oh, no, big difference.
Wow,
I was
okay.
like, okay, but the fridge works, right? Like everything's cold
keeps everything
inside
cold
of
in
it.
there?
Like,
Yeah.
okay. So
Is
it
it
doesn't
freezer
matter.
too?
Just want to make sure.
Keeps
I
the
don't
hot
even
side
know
hot
if
and the cold side cold?
I don't know if my fridge is counter depth or not.
You would never.
I mean, I hear that phrase, and it's always something
It's a-
aspirational, and I'm like, I thought
They're
counters.
more expensive by a lot.
I thought fridges came to the counter.
Not all of them.
Huh?
There are different depths of fridge.
Couldn't you just get narrower counters?
I think it's more expensive to replace all of the counters.
No, not all the counters, just the ones on either side of the fridge. Wow. All right.
know.
And then you don't even have counter length counters at some
Yeah,
point.
I guess not.
all
I'm
right.
going to consult the design team at Northeast Factory Direct, I think, in
way to do
the
it.
break here. All right, if you want to get a text for something, 35192. I'll see those there. You can listen anywhere you are on the iHeartRadio